The Color of Your Eyes, written by Blackcatsassin, read by gutterratt1213. Chapter 9, Blue Jeans. We walked outside and it started to become chilly. I rubbed my shoulder and suddenly felt exhausted. The stress and anxiety were claiming their tribute. Phil wrapped an arm around my shoulder. It felt very comfortable. I couldn't help but enjoy it. But it's so wrong. I love Jake more than anything. Then why do I let Phil do these small gestures for me? Do I even like him? I looked up for a second and met his black eyes. He smiled and I immediately looked away. This made him chuckle. I admit to myself that Phil didn't look so bad, but he couldn't hold a candle to Jake, even though I have no idea how Jake looks like. And I realized that sounded very ironic. Suddenly, Phil was bumped roughly by someone who passed us by. Phil let go of me, and I looked at the person who was wearing a black hoodie, now walking away from us in the opposite direction. "Hey, watch where you're walking, man," yelled Phil while rubbing his shoulder. I watched the person disappear after he turned a corner. I looked back at Phil. "Are you okay?" I genuinely asked. Yeah, I'm okay. Probably just a drunk," Phil said, smiling, but still showing signs of pain as he rubbed his shoulder and moved it in circles. I continued walking with Phil as we continued through the streets of the marketplace. There was a bridge with a nice stream underneath it. The surrounding lamps looked beautiful. We approached the bridge. The sound of the water and the lights soothed my soul for a moment. I couldn't help but to breathe out a sigh of relief. I leaned against the bridge to enjoy the view for a moment. "I have to go back to the Aurora soon," Phil said after looking at his phone. Then he joined me on watching the stream, standing right next to me. I could smell the faint smell of his aftershave. I wondered what Jake smelled like. I heard laughter coming from my right, and I turned around, seeing a young couple walking hand in hand. The boyfriend had black hair. I looked away. Could that be Jake? Yes. No. Yes. No. As I was deep in my thoughts, I only noticed too late that Phil was leaning closer to me. I blinked in confusion because, at first, I had no idea what to do. I felt like a deer in the headlights. "You are very beautiful, Leah," whispered Phil. I couldn't help but to blush into a deep shade of red, only because right at that moment I did something unspeakable. I imagined Jake whispering that to me. Phil had black hair, after all. That was not fair towards Phil, nor was it healthy for me. So I tried to downplay the atmosphere. "Don't joke around, Phil." I watched the streams. "I don't joke, Leah. I have met many women, day and night, for short or longer time, but no one like you." He was dangerously close, way too close to make this out as a joke. I could feel breath on me. He faintly smelt like the red wine he had drank at the burger place. I couldn't help but to close my eyes. Suddenly, from afar, I heard Lana Del Rey's song, Blue Jeans. The song snapped me out from my daze, and I pushed Phil gently. I had to calm my breath before I looked up. Phil had a sad look in his eyes, and I couldn't help but look sad myself. "I'm sorry, Phil," was all that I could say. Phil shook his head and then stroked my shoulders and placed a kiss on the top of my head. "Don't apologize," he whispered. "This just shows that you are true to yourself and to that lucky son of a bitch that captured your heart, whoever that is," he added with an icy tone. We stood in silence for a moment before Phil let go of me. "Well, I gotta go now to the Aurora. You will still come later, right? I still want you to try out my drinks," he winked. I rolled my eyes and just nodded. "Sure, Phil. I will come later." He nodded and then walked past me into the direction of his bar. I watched him walk away and then leaned against the bridge again, watching the stream, lost deep in my thoughts.